look at that. They're nothing if they're not consistent, and that changed a little bit here. The Kraken had gone on a losing streak after their 9-game winning streak. We talked about that and the struggles there, the injury issues. Finally, the team is getting back to healthy, and there was a move made today that signaled further health for the team as well. We start here with January 24th. The team beat the Chicago Blackhawks in the second game of a 4-game homestand by a score of 6-2. This was a nice win to go out there, dominate a team that you were expected to dominate on paper, handle your business, get in the win column, and as well as bring in a few former guys as well back to Seattle in Colin Blackwell, Ryan Donato, Jacob Megna, and then former Seattle Thunderbird Kevin Korchinski, all with Chicago now to come here and play that game as well. Our player of the game for Jared McCann, 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points, 3 plus minus, and 3 shots on the day. January 26th, after that win, this one was a big game considering that the St. Louis Blues sit ahead of the Kraken in the wild card standings. You would like to obviously continue to stack wins as you move towards the All-Star break and in general as you look to climb up higher in the standings. But also when it's a team that's in your way and directly in your way of a wild card spot, you'd like to handle that. Seattle looked like they were going to do so. They were up by a score of 3-1. They let St. Louis score the last 3 unanswered goals of the game, including the winner in overtime, and the Kraken fall. They get the 1 point in the standings because it's an overtime loss, but ultimately it's frustrating because you didn't get both of them, and it was in your grasp. You had the 2-goal lead, wasn't able to take care of that and finish that off. Our player of the game forward, Oliver Bjorkstrand, Seattle's All-Star, 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points, 1 plus minus, and 5 shots on the day. We go over here to the final game of the homestand, the 4th and final game, and the second to last game ahead of the NHL's All-Star break. January 28th versus the Columbus Blue Jackets, a 4-2 win. This one, another one that Seattle should have handled pretty easily on paper. You know, Columbus has struggled throughout the course of the year. They're still sort of kind of going through a rebuild. They've got a lot of young talent on this roster. Seattle scored 3 goals in the first period. They looked like they were going to roll it. Second period was a little bit weird, a little bit sloppy. Weren't able to do a lot. We get to the third period, same thing. Very sloppy. Couldn't add on to it. Columbus scored the next 2 goals to really make it a tight one. But thanks to a few blocked shots, Yanni Gourde got in on it. Joey Decord made great saves down the stretch. Seattle was able to get the empty net goal by Brandon Tanev and put the stamp on this one to get the 2 points and close out the homestand with a win. Our player of the game for Jordan Eberle-Ebbs, 2 goals, 1 assist, and 3 points on the day, contributing on 3 of Seattle's 4 goals on the night, a 1 plus minus, and 3 shots. So nice to close out the homestand with a win. A little bit more stressful than it needed to be. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But just happy to be able to get the win, of course, and now you focus on your next game down in San Jose. We move over here, before we discuss that, to our player of the week. Oliver Bjorkstrand is who I went with. Joey didn't have the greatest week over the past 3 games, per se. In the games against St. Louis and then in Columbus, looked a little bit tired on some of the goals that those teams scored, so it'll be nice when the All-Star break approaches. I would imagine that Philip Grubauer starts tomorrow against San Jose, but that's not a definite considering Dave Hackstall. But regardless of that, regardless of how the team decides to go with the goaltenders, the All-Star break will be a big help for this team to get even more healthy, get some rest, and move forward there. Looking back at our player of the week with Bjorkstrand, over the past 3 games, 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points, 1 hit, and 1 block for the All-Star. Even when it isn't recording stats like goals or assists, Bjorkstrand making an impact for this team and really showing why he's been so valuable and earning his first All-Star appearance this year. We look at this Kraken team and, again, getting healthy is a big thing. That's really nice. You see some of the defensive structure has been there. You're getting some improvement from the power play. You get 2 of your 3 goals last night against Columbus on the man advantage. Getting healthy is such a big thing. There's a roster move that we'll get to in a second that alludes to even more health and the team being fully healthy. And I say that with air quotes because you never know. Some guys are battling things on the side and aren't going to mention it. But that's been such a big thing, because you talk about this roster, you talk about where they are, and some folks have been looking towards what they need with a trade. The front office really hasn't seen this team to its full degree as they envisioned it this offseason because of the injuries. Brandon Tanev gets hurt early on. Andrei Burakovsky goes out for a while with an injury. Jaden Schwartz was out. Jordan Eberle was out. There were so many things that happened. There was the illness over the road trip as well that took place. So there's so many things that this team's been hit with in the first half of the season, ahead of the All-Star break, that you really haven't seen a fully healthy 2023-24 Kraken roster. And that's fine now, because you're getting healthier, you're getting better. The one thing that I wanted to talk about and alluding towards it, with the overtime loss to St. Louis and then this Columbus game, the team has been failing to hold on to leads. And that isn't something new. There was a 2-goal curse that happened earlier in the year. But you really need to be able to close these games out. Especially when you look at games against the St. Louis Blues. That's a team ahead of you in the standings, a team that's holding a wild card spot right now that you want. You need to be able to finish that, move ahead of them, and be able to hold that over their head in case we need the head-to-head standings, in case you need the tiebreaker when we get to the playoffs, when we get to those late games in the year where you might need to start stacking up points and calculating how you need to get into the playoffs. So just some sloppy hockey in the second and third periods of this game last night against Columbus. Not really the best chances on goal against Daniil Tarasov after he looked really shaky early on. The bad chances that you put on goal ultimately helped him get locked in. And that St. Louis game, again, you go up by 2 goals and just some turnovers. And it was the same with Columbus. Turnovers and, a lack of hustle, a lack of, the sense of urgency wasn't fully there to close out these games, put the final nail in the coffin, however you want to put it, right? So feeling good, feeling better about it, feeling better about being healthy, but knowing that, hey, you got the win, at least looking at last night, you got the win. Or if you look at St. Louis, you got 1 point. But you can be better, and you need to be better when we get to some of these other games on the road. I know in the month of March you're going to play Vegas late into the month, and that's going to be about the time when you want to start clinching a playoff berth. So, be happy with the points. You got the nice homestand, you got the break coming up, but understand that you're going to need to be better moving forward. And that'll help as you're getting healthy, and we'll talk about that now. On the 23rd of January, the team activated goaltender Philip Grubauer off of injured reserve, and then thus reassigned goaltender Chris Drieger back to AHL Coachella Valley, with Matty Beniers coming healthy as well after he had been dealing with an upper body injury over the last few games. On January 25th, the team reassigned forward John Hayden to the Coachella Valley Firebirds as well. Today, forward Devin Shore was placed on waivers with the intent to reassign him to the Coachella Valley Firebirds, as it appears that forward Pierre-Edouard Bellemare will be healthy and can return to the team, especially given the break. This is a move that, whether Shore is claimed off of waivers or ultimately goes back down to Coachella Valley, will help the team out salary cap wise. And with the long break, Pierre-Edouard Bellemare should be able to join the team as well. So then you'd have 2 forwards who you could scratch, which is unfortunate for them not playing, but it means that this team is finally fully healthy once again. It would be 1 forward. Yes, it would be 1 forward. It would be Yamamoto. Sorry about that. Bellemare did practice with the team during morning skate yesterday. Full practice participation is assigned in his return. Over the weekend, he had been practicing on his own and getting some more work in. So, again, I imagine with the 1 game against San Jose tomorrow and then the break, the thought is put Shore on waivers, send him back down to the Firebirds, and then you can have Bellemare back from injured reserve and ready to go. That's about it when it comes to Kraken-related news. The team sits at a 21-win, 18-loss, 9-overtime loss record, which is good for 5th in the Pacific Division, sitting at 52 points. They're 2 points out of the final wildcard spot. Their next game, as I mentioned, is tomorrow, Tuesday, January 30th, at the San Jose Sharks. That's a 7:30 p.m. puck drop. I'm not sure why it's so late, considering we're still in the West Coast time zone. The All-Star break will follow this. The team doesn't play again until February 10th. They will return from the break on February 7th, get some practice days in, and then get to their next game on the 10th. So a nice break there. Oliver Bjorkstrand, obviously, the team's All-Star representative in Toronto. Otherwise, the other guys, get a nice break.